Every man at some point experiences pain from a woman he cares about. But here's the truth. What truly matters is how you handle it. If you react with weakness, you lose respect. If you handle it with strength, you shift the entire dynamic. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to deal with a woman who hurts you without chasing, without begging, and without losing yourself. When a woman hurts you, the natural instinct is to react immediately. For many men, this reaction comes in the form of anger, frustration, or even desperate attempts to make her understand how deeply she wounded them. But reacting emotionally in the heat of the moment is often the exact mistake that costs you respect, both in her eyes and in your own. The first step toward handling this situation with strength is to control your emotional response. Mastering this ability is what separates a man who is controlled by his emotions from a man who commands them. Controlling your emotions does not mean suppressing them or pretending you feel nothing. It means recognizing what you feel, acknowledging it, but not allowing it to dictate your words or actions. Most women expect men to lash out when they push certain buttons. They anticipate anger, arguments, or pleas. When you respond differently, when you remain calm, collected, and centered, it creates an impact that is far stronger than any outburst. A calm man commands presence, while an emotional man loses it. Think of it this way: if she says something hurtful and you immediately snap back, you are showing her that she has control over your state of mind. If she ignores you or disrespects you and you rush to prove yourself, you are demonstrating that your emotions are at her mercy. But when you respond with composure, when you take a pause instead of reacting, you show strength. You silently communicate that you are not a man who can be easily shaken. That pause, that moment of restraint, is what sets the tone of power in any interaction. Training yourself to control your emotions begins with self-awareness. Many men have conditioned reactions: anger when disrespected, silence when ignored, over-explaining when misunderstood. These patterns are often automatic, but once you become aware of them, you can break them. Awareness allows you to stop, breathe, and think before responding. Instead of saying something you will regret, you choose to either remain silent or respond with calm words that hold weight. The ability to pause is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Another important aspect of emotional control is understanding the difference between reaction and response. A reaction is immediate, emotional, and often destructive. A response is thoughtful, measured, and purposeful. When she tries to provoke you or test your patience, a reaction gives her exactly what she wanted, proof that she can affect you. A response, on the other hand, shows her that you are unshakable. It keeps the power in your hands. This is why emotional control is not about weakness or passivity. It is about strength, discipline, and restraint. Men often confuse emotional control with indifference, but the two are very different. Indifference means you don't care. Emotional control means you care, but you are not ruled by that care. You may feel hurt, but you do not allow that hurt to dictate your choices. You may feel angry, but you do not lash out in ways that lower your value. You may feel disappointed, but you choose to hold yourself with dignity rather than demand validation. That balance between feeling and controlling is where your strength lies. The truth is, emotions are not the enemy. They are signals. They are energy. They are part of being human. But when those emotions spill out uncontrollably, they become a weapon against you. The man who cannot control himself loses respect, opportunities, and influence. The man who masters control gains all of them. A woman may hurt you once, but how you respond determines whether she will ever dare to hurt you again. When your composure becomes your shield, your silence becomes your weapon, and your restraint becomes your power, you step into a space where no one, not even the woman who hurt you, can control your peace. When a woman hurts you, the way you handle it defines how she will treat you in the future. One of the most important steps in handling such situations is setting clear boundaries. Boundaries are not about controlling another person. They are about communicating what you will and will not tolerate. They are lines that protect your dignity, your values, and your peace. A man without boundaries is a man who becomes easy to manipulate, and a woman will quickly recognize when she has the freedom to cross limits without consequences. Setting boundaries begins with self-respect. If you respect yourself, you cannot allow repeated disrespect from anyone, no matter how much you care about them. Many men compromise their boundaries because they are afraid of losing the woman. But the truth is that every time you compromise your principles to keep her, you are teaching her to devalue you. Boundaries are not selfish, they are necessary. They communicate that your love is strong, but your self-respect is stronger. The key to effective boundaries is clarity. You cannot set vague limits and expect others to follow them. You must know exactly what is acceptable to you and what is not. If a woman disrespects you with her words, you make it clear that insults and belittlement are unacceptable. If she disregards your time, you let her know that you will not wait endlessly or be treated as an option. Clarity ensures that there is no room for confusion. The more precise your boundary, the more powerful its impact. Boundaries are not expressed through anger or long explanations. They are communicated through calmness and consistency. If you tell her you won't tolerate disrespect but keep accepting it, your words are empty. Boundaries only hold weight when they are backed by action. When she sees that you are serious, that you mean what you say, and that you will act when a line is crossed, she understands that she cannot play with your limits. A boundary is not about threatening. It is about showing through behavior that you stand by your values. Another important element of boundaries is consistency. A man who enforces his limits one day but ignores them the next sends mixed signals. This inconsistency weakens his position and invites repeated disrespect. If you truly want your boundaries to be respected, you must uphold them every single time. This may feel uncomfortable, especially when emotions are involved, but consistency is what builds respect. Over time, she learns that your boundaries are not negotiable and that awareness changes the way she interacts with you. Setting boundaries also requires courage. It means being willing to walk away if those boundaries are repeatedly crossed. Many men fail at this stage because they are too afraid of losing her. But what they don't realize is that allowing constant violations means they have already lost themselves. Walking away is not about punishment, it is about preserving your self-worth. A woman will only take you as seriously as you take yourself. If you value yourself enough to enforce boundaries, she will either rise to meet your standards or remove herself from your life. Either way, you win. Ultimately, boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are guidelines that ensure respect in any relationship. They protect your emotional health and create an environment where love and respect can coexist. Without boundaries, affection becomes imbalance and respect disappears. With boundaries, love becomes stronger, respect grows, and interactions remain healthy. A man who sets clear boundaries communicates that he is strong, self-assured, and unwilling to compromise his dignity for temporary comfort. One of the most powerful steps in handling a woman who hurts you is learning to detach your validation from her. Many men unknowingly give away their power by making a woman the center of their worth. They begin to measure their value based on her approval, her affection, and her attention. When she compliments them, they feel strong. When she criticizes or withdraws, they feel weak. This dependence creates a cycle where the man's emotions rise and fall based on her behavior. Detaching your validation means breaking this cycle and reclaiming control over how you see yourself. Validation is the recognition of your value. When you depend on a woman for validation, you are allowing her to decide how much you are worth on any given day. This makes you reactive, insecure, and easy to manipulate. A woman can hurt you deeply if she knows that her opinion is the foundation of your confidence. But when you begin to build your validation internally through self-respect, self-discipline, and achievements, her ability to control your emotions fades. She no longer becomes the judge of your worth because you already know it within yourself. Detaching your validation starts with awareness. You must honestly ask yourself, how much of my confidence depends on her approval? Do I feel strong only when she pays attention? Do I feel good about myself only when she gives me affection? These questions reveal whether you are leaning on her validation instead of standing on your own. Recognizing the dependency is the first step toward breaking it. Once you see the pattern, you can begin replacing it with a healthier source of value. Building internal validation requires shifting focus from her to yourself. Instead of chasing her approval, you invest in your own growth. You set personal goals and achieve them, no matter how small. You develop skills, improve your health, strengthen your mind, and create progress in your life. Every time you achieve something through your own discipline, you prove to yourself that your value does not depend on anyone else. This is how self-validation is built, through consistent action and progress. Another aspect of detaching validation is emotional independence. Emotional independence means that your mood and confidence are not dictated by her behavior. If she ignores you, you do not crumble. If she disrespects you, you do not beg for her to make it right. Instead, you maintain your center regardless of what she does. This does not mean you tolerate disrespect. It means that your sense of self is not tied to her treatment of you. A man who is emotionally independent cannot be controlled through affection or withdrawal because he does not rely on either for his worth. Detaching validation also strengthens your presence in the relationship. When a woman sees that her approval does not dictate your confidence, she naturally respects you more. She realizes you are not desperate for her attention, which makes your attention more valuable. Your independence creates polarity. It makes her chase rather than control. This shift in dynamics only happens when you stop seeking validation from her and start owning it within yourself. The truth is, the more you depend on a woman for validation, the more power you give her to hurt you. The less you depend on her, the freer you become. Detaching validation does not make you cold or emotionless. It makes you balanced. You can still love deeply, but your love is no longer needy. You can still care genuinely, but your care is not desperate. You can still connect fully, but your connection is not tied to your sense of identity. This is what gives you strength. A man who validates himself becomes unshakable because no one, not even the woman who once hurt him, can define his worth. When a woman hurts you, silence is powerful, but there are times when communication becomes necessary. How you communicate in these moments determines whether you maintain respect or lose it. Most men fall into extremes. They either explode in anger or suppress their feelings until resentment builds. Both approaches weaken their position. True strength lies in communicating with composure. This means expressing yourself directly, calmly, and with control. It is not about winning an argument. It is about standing firm in your truth without lowering your value. Composure is the art of remaining steady when your emotions are trying to pull you into chaos. It is easy to communicate when everything is calm, but the real test of composure is when you feel hurt, disrespected, or provoked. A man who can speak with calmness in the face of emotional intensity shows strength that cannot be ignored. He does not shout, he does not beg, and he does not lose control. Instead, he states what he feels and what he will or will not accept with clarity and firmness. This balance between strength and calmness is what makes his communication effective. When you communicate with composure, your words carry weight. An emotional outburst may get attention, but it rarely gets respect. A calm, direct statement, however, stays in the mind. For example, instead of yelling, "You always disrespect me," a composed man says, "I do not accept being spoken to this way." The difference is powerful. One sounds reactive and emotional, the other sounds firm and grounded. Women respect clarity, not chaos. Composure turns your words into commands rather than complaints. Another important part of composed communication is tone. Your tone speaks louder than your words. If your voice shakes with anger or desperation, the message gets lost. But if your tone is steady and calm, it conveys confidence. A controlled voice shows that you are in charge of yourself, and when you are in charge of yourself, others are more likely to listen. The strength of your tone does not come from volume, it comes from control. Composure also requires brevity. Many men over-explain when they are hurt, hoping the woman will understand or feel guilty. But long explanations often come across as pleading. The more you explain, the weaker your position becomes. Instead, keep your communication short and clear. Say what needs to be said and stop there. The fewer words you use, the stronger the impact. Respect is gained not by convincing, but by clarity. Equally important is body language. Composed communication is not only about what you say, but how you carry yourself. Eye contact, posture, and calm movements add weight to your words. If you say you are not tolerating disrespect, but your body shows nervousness, the message loses power. But when your body reflects confidence, steady eyes, upright posture, relaxed gestures, it reinforces the authority of your words. Your presence speaks before your voice does. Finally, composure in communication is about choosing the right time. Not every moment is the right one to address an issue. Speaking in the middle of chaos often escalates the conflict. A composed man knows when to hold silence and when to speak. He addresses the situation when emotions have settled enough for his words to land effectively. This patience ensures that his message is not lost in the noise of arguments. Communicating with composure is a skill that elevates every aspect of your relationships. It prevents you from looking weak through overreaction and prevents you from looking indifferent through silence alone. It strikes the perfect balance, expressing strength without aggression, expressing truth without desperation. A man who masters this skill gains respect because he shows that he cannot be shaken into losing control. He commands attention not by force, but by presence, and that presence becomes undeniable when every word he speaks is measured, calm, and rooted in self-respect. There comes a point when words no longer matter, when repeated actions show that a woman has no regard for your feelings, and when attempts to reason only fall on deaf ears. In such moments, the strongest move is not to argue, not to beg, and not to retaliate. The strongest move is to withdraw, but to do it respectfully. Withdrawal is not about punishing her. It is about protecting yourself. It is the decision to step back from a situation that no longer serves your peace or dignity without turning it into unnecessary drama. Withdrawing respectfully requires discipline. Most men either withdraw with anger, slamming doors, cutting ties in bitterness, or they withdraw silently but with resentment boiling inside them. Neither approach carries the strength of true withdrawal. Respectful withdrawal means you remove yourself calmly, without insults, without accusations, and without trying to make her feel guilty. It is simply you choosing to step away because you value your peace more than the chaos. This shows control, and control is always respected more than chaos. The reason withdrawal is so powerful is that it replaces words with action. A woman may not listen to what you say, but she always notices what you do. If you keep talking about boundaries but remain in the same place when they are broken, your words are empty. But when you withdraw respectfully, you show her that you do not tolerate repeated disrespect. Your silence and absence communicate far more than an argument ever could. It creates a void that makes her reflect, not on your words, but on your absence. Respectful withdrawal also prevents escalation. When emotions run high, staying in the situation often leads to shouting, blame, or emotional damage that could have been avoided. By calmly stepping back, you remove yourself from the storm before it consumes you. You demonstrate emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize when continuing the interaction will serve no purpose. A man who knows when to walk away shows that he values himself enough not to be dragged into endless cycles of conflict. An important part of respectful withdrawal is maintaining dignity. You do not leave with bitterness or dramatic statements. You do not try to make her feel small or prove how strong you are. Instead, you walk away quietly, with calmness and certainty. This silence carries far more weight than anger. Anger still shows attachment, but calm withdrawal shows independence. It communicates that you are not dependent on her behavior for your peace, and that makes your absence more powerful than your presence ever could be in conflict. Another benefit of withdrawing respectfully is the space it creates. Space forces reflection. When you are no longer there to absorb disrespect or tolerate mistreatment, she is left alone with the reality of her actions. Many women only realize the value of a man once his presence is no longer guaranteed. By withdrawing, you give her the opportunity to see the difference between when you were there and when you are gone. This shift often creates more awareness than any lecture or explanation. Respectful withdrawal also protects your energy. Staying in a toxic or hurtful interaction drains your mental and emotional strength. By removing yourself, you preserve that energy for your own growth and peace. It is an act of self-care as much as it is an act of strength. The man who withdraws respectfully is not weak. He is wise enough to understand that his energy is too valuable to waste on battles that lead nowhere. Ultimately, withdrawing respectfully is about choosing yourself without disrespecting her. It is about protecting your self-worth without trying to damage hers. It is about showing strength not through aggression, but through calm detachment. It is a reminder that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is not through what you say, but through the silence of your absence and the dignity with which you walk away. When a woman hurts you, it is easy to get caught up in trying to change her, to make her see your worth, or to prove that you deserve better treatment. But this constant need for recognition from someone else is what keeps you trapped in weakness. The real shift happens when you turn the focus inward and begin to build your own value, independent of anyone's approval. Focusing on self-value is not about ignoring others. It is about ensuring that no one has the power to define who you are or what you deserve. Self-value begins with self-respect. You cannot expect anyone else to respect you if you do not first respect yourself. This means holding yourself to standards, refusing to tolerate disrespect, and living in alignment with your principles. A man who respects himself carries an aura that naturally demands respect from others. It is not about arrogance or superiority. It is about living in a way that communicates dignity without saying a word. Another aspect of building self-value is investing in growth. Growth creates confidence. When you develop your skills, pursue your goals, improve your health, and expand your knowledge, you create undeniable value within yourself. This kind of progress is something no one can take away from you. It makes you secure because your worth is not based on fleeting attention or shallow validation. It is built on real achievements. Every small step of growth adds to the foundation of your self-worth. Focusing on self-value also means shifting your mindset from neediness to abundance. Many men become consumed by the idea that they need a woman's approval to feel complete. This dependence makes them chase, beg, and tolerate behavior that undermines their dignity. But when you focus on yourself, you realize that your life is already full of opportunities, goals, and potential. A woman can add to that fullness, but she does not define it. This mindset shift changes the way you show up in every interaction. You stop chasing because you already feel complete within yourself. Emotional strength is another part of self-value. A man who cannot regulate his emotions becomes easy to control. But when you learn to stay calm under pressure, to remain composed when tested, and to keep your center regardless of external chaos, you become unshakable. This stability not only protects your peace, but also elevates the way others see you. Emotional strength is a reflection of inner value. It shows that you are not a slave to circumstances, but the master of yourself. Your environment also plays a role in building self-value. Surrounding yourself with negativity, toxic influences, or people who do not respect you slowly weakens your sense of worth. But when you place yourself in environments that challenge you to grow, support your goals, and push you toward progress, you strengthen your foundation. Protecting your space is part of protecting your value. What you allow into your life influences how you feel about yourself. Finally, focusing on self-value means embracing independence. Independence does not mean isolation. It means being whole on your own. It is the ability to stand tall even when you are alone, to know your worth without needing constant reminders, and to move forward in life whether others support you or not. Independence makes your presence more powerful because people can sense that you are not desperate for acceptance. You choose connections. You do not cling to them. When you build self-value, you transform the dynamic of every relationship in your life. You no longer chase after love, attention, or validation because you carry all of it within yourself. You no longer allow disrespect because your standards will not permit it. You no longer fear losing someone because you know you will never lose yourself. This is the essence of true strength, when your worth is not borrowed from anyone else but created, maintained, and guarded by you.